Okay. Okay, I would like to call this budget workshop of the North Branford Town Council to order at 6:39. Let's do a salute to the flag. Let's do that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call. Present.
Present.
Councillor Hazelton.
Here.
Councillor Dunn.
Here.
Councillor Bode.
Here.
Councillor Miller.
Here.
Councillor Paladin.
Here.
Councillor Police.
Here.
And Councillor
Here.
Okay. All right. So we are going to have budget overviews tonight of operational and capital budgets from 3 departments. The first one is Park and Recreation. And we are going to try and stick to the 30-minute. I know we're starting a little bit late, but we're trying not to go exceed the 30-minute mark on any of the departments. We have a pretty full schedule tonight, so you're on.
Will we give extra budget to those who finish early?
Sure.
Those are print
I already speak fast. Let's not rush me any further than I already go. All right, so good evening tonight. Thank you so much for having us. We'd like to start off by thanking the town council for your support through this year. Not only have you made critical decisions and supported our department through your decisions, many of you have volunteered and participated with our department serving the community. From volunteering at the Potato and Corn Festival, to handing out hot chocolate and cookies with the Rotary Club, or serving holiday meals to our seniors. Each of you have taken a time to truly make yourself part of this community, not just present on the council, but also volunteering with us, so we really appreciate that. Up above are some of the photos of the different events that we've held, so you can see our trunk or treat, the fire department joining our camp.
It's not just the fire department, it's the world's best sprinkler. So it's the world's best sprinkler that we have only here in North Branford for our campers. And I'm sorry, just jumped right.
No, go ahead.
But we have our trunk or treat. That's featuring the Historical Society, the groovy ladies from the Historical Society. In the corner we have our annual senior holiday lunch. There's an intergenerational picture. We've been working on intergenerational programs. That's a collaborative between our senior center and the students from Jerome Harrison. We have volunteers in a couple pictures, potato wrapping for the Potato and Corn Festival, volunteers down in our kitchen, serving up a holiday lunch, summer camp, the foam party. If you've never seen a foam party happen, that happens a couple times a year at our building. Down in the corner, we have Officer Cosenza and Canine Chance from our local Heroes Night, and just some pictures of, there's some seniors dancing, some of the just day-to-day things that you'll find at Parks Rec and Senior Center.
So the next slide is our mission statement, and we strive hard to meet this mission statement every day in what we do. But one of the things we set a few years ago for ourselves is some principles to guide the work that we choose to do. And we want to speak to some of those principles tonight with you. The first principles we'd like to speak about is connectivity and accessibility. On the slide behind you is a list of 39 organizations that we connect with or partner with in different ways. The North Branford Rotary and Historical Society, we've had the pleasure of co-hosting special events with, or having them come in and speak with our seniors.
Yeah, so we've partnered with the Aged Care to reform our local wellness council. This will be our second year with that council. And a few people that are here in the room tonight are part of that council as well, which leads us to interdepartmental connectivity. We depend and work with our departments here in town on the day-to-day. We talked about the fire department, the police department, the libraries. We do the story walk with the libraries. We've done activities like local heroes with the libraries, and of course our public works department many of our events and activities wouldn't happen without the support of our guys over at Public Works.
And anytime we ask them for anything, any of our outlandish or crazy fun ideas, everybody jumps in. So truly all of the departments have been so accommodating working with us to make magic memories. One of the things that we really strive to do is shop local and participate local. So you'll see some of the restaurants in town or farms listed or the hardware store. We strive to buy everything that we can locally to support local businesses as much as we possibly can. So most of the plants that you see in our gardens have been purchased through our local farms.
Yeah, and Nature Works as well. We forgot to put
Nature Works.
But Nature Works and Country Paint and Hardware, we go to regularly. Country Farms, Di Francesco's, Ciccarelli's. We bring our seniors on trips there as well. So not just as a department do we purchase, but we also make it a day because many of our seniors don't have access to our local farm stands. So we make an afternoon out of it. Actually, before you go to the next slide, I just want to say that and more. I was thinking about this after we put this slide together, and I'd like to say that I think the and more on this slide is our actual community. And I'd like to say that's what we're most proud of as a department is the connections and the relationships that we build every single day with our residents and our families.
So another one of our guiding principles that we set a few years ago was innovation. We strive to be creative in how we bring things to the community. So whether it's working with a resident to bring one of the largest pickleball tournaments in the state to North Branford, or working with our fire department to come up with creative programs. They actually came to our after-school program to connect with them.
They come every October for Fire Safety Month, and we teach children about fire safety and how to escape properly and change the batteries in those smoke detectors.
And one of the local organizations that we're most proud of, our newest partnership, is with Beyond the Horizon. And I'll let Carrie speak a little bit about
one of those bottom pictures, you'll see two children high-fiving each other on yoga mats. That's from one of our sensory-friendly activities that we've partnered with for Beyond the Horizon. Beyond the Horizon was founded by Ashley McLean, who also put together the Linked program that our first responders are using as well. Beyond the Horizon has great ideas, and we were looking for adaptive programming, so together we've built this partnership to bring it to North Branford and to our surrounding towns. We're able to provide an adaptive, sensory-friendly program almost every single month. And our latest one was just this past Sunday with a sensory-friendly Easter event. We had quite a few children enjoy it. I'd also like to note too that we do have pictures of our pickleball courts, but one thing we didn't put a picture of is our roller hockey court. It really is one of a kind. There are no other lighted outdoor roller hockey courts in the area, and it's something we don't talk about often, but that was part of the pickleball court project.
What we weren't able to include on this slide also was our holiday grandparents gift giving program. So this year we noticed the PD contacted us that they had some extra holiday gifts for children that they wanted.
Had collected through the Toys for Tots program. So we partnered with the police department, and we were able to have Grandparents' Day. So our seniors and grandparents that come to the senior center were able to shop for gifts for their grandchildren, compliments of the police department.
So it's important to talk not just about the stories, but also about the numbers. These are just some of the numbers in an impact report for you. So we've offered 103 unique programs this year. We've processed 376 facility permits. Working with the United Way, we handed out over 800 farm-to-family food boxes, and with Public Works, and sometimes just Carrie in her truck, going to pick up these boxes and deliver almost 100 boxes a week to ourselves and the food pantry, who wasn't able to pick up those boxes and wouldn't have received them if we didn't step up to the plate and get them there, or have Public Works help on certain weeks. We serve 3,242 meals, and that's not including our special event meals, which serve over 100 when we do our St. Patrick's Day. We have 115 registered for our upcoming St. Patrick's Day luncheon. But outside of that, daily meals, we served over 3,000 meals. We took 123 trips with our seniors, and that's trips to Mohegan, that's trips to the local ice cream shop, trips to the farm. We strive to get them out and about and involved.
And offer them opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise be able to access on their own.
So these are not like the grocery trips?
That's not grocery shopping,
Th-
that's not
this is-
medical
Okay,
appointments.
this is the extra.
These are the extras.
The fun.
things.
The fun stuff.
Yeah.
All the grocery shopping.
It's fine. I like it.
I do too.
So beyond the numbers, there's a few more stories that we'd like to share with you.
So we just added a couple quotes. These came through our emails. The first one is from a organizational partnership. The second one is from an instructor that came to do nature walks at our summer camp. And the last quote is from a parent who has been utilizing our summer camp and activities for several years now.
So our last slide is the less fun slide. This year, we're proposing a 6.1% increase in our budget. This is mostly contractual increases. We've had rising costs. The biggest cost increase in our budget is an increase for, honestly, our portalettes. We've been on a 5-year contract, and it's gone up over 86% this year. It's just a reality. They've honored the prices for us from 5 years ago. We've been lucky enough to maintain that every single year, but that's resulted in over an $11,000 increase in our budget in that line item alone. So our other increases include a 10% increase in our maintenance fees regarding, or our maintenance costs regarding facility maintenance. We've been having ongoing plumbing issues, toilet explosions. I don't know how else to put it, but we need an increase in that line item. The other increases are cleaning supplies. As you know, the cost of everything has gone up, so we put a 5% increase in there. That's about it for our general fund budget. Unless you have any questions, I can talk about capital. Sure.
No, it's just playing with it.
Oh, okay, no, that was a hand raise.
Nope.
So do you have some of the townwide events in your budget, right? Like Christmas tree lighting, or is that still in your budget or not in your budget?
No.
Was that moved out?
No,
It was moved out? Okay.
it was also never really in our budget to begin with.
Yeah, we were tapping our budget for a lot of them.
We were tapping our recreation budget, so the money that we make from our programs that we offer was funding our special events, thousands of dollars for our special events. It was never taxpayer dollars for those events, when we do
They're
all
great
the
events.
extras.
I've been to them, they're fantastic events. You guys do a wonderful job.
So it's nice, we have moved it, into the community budget. One of the other increases is in our vans. We, as many of you know, a local business who used to do our van inspections no longer is able to do them, so we switched. But there's a significant fee difference in that and different maintenance needs, so that's come up. And then we increased our tire budget. We haven't done tires on our vehicles in a very long time, so we've added tires to this year's budget, which hasn't previously been in there, explaining for some of our other increases.
So I just have a question. When the Board of Ed was discussing their budget, they talked about that you sometimes help them out and transport some of their kids to, you pick them up and do various things.
We do.
Do you get paid for that? Do they pay you for your time and
For
stuff?
some of, so for the additional, yes, but for the after-school program, that we pick up the kids from Jerome and bring to our program, no.
Okay.
How many vans do you have?
We currently have 3 vans.
Okay.
One was a grant vehicle that we got prior to me coming, I believe we got it in 2019. The other 2 we purchased off state auction, and some of you guys were on the council when we did it, but we paid only like $10,000 for those vehicles. And they are starting to show their age, so we're currently having some issues with siding and things like that, so there's an increase in our budget this year to try to accommodate some of those expenses, so we're not coming to you again later saying we can't make ends meet.
But didn't you just get a new van through a
We
state?
have not received it yet.
But
We've
it was
been approved.
awarded, you just have not received it
It
yet.
was awarded almost 2 years ago, so we're still waiting.
When's the expected
They said spring. I don't know.
spring of what year? Okay, just,
It was supposed to be last year, so they're telling me this year. I'm hoping that is true.
Is that's a new one?
That's a new one, but the issue with that is it's an 8-passenger. So it's helpful to us. Originally, we wanted a van so that we can transport into New Haven when we do our medical.
Into smaller medicals. And there's some complexes that we bring seniors to that are just not conducive to a larger vehicle from door-to-door medical appointments. So
Not to mention, some residents' driveways are just,
that too.
you can't get a 24-passenger bus down that driveway. But as you saw, we do 123 trips. It's very hard to tell seniors, we're only taking 8 of you on that trip. The rest of you can't come, we don't have the vehicles to do it. So that's where our 24-passenger and our 12-passenger come in handy, so that we can take as many as we possibly can. And if we have to run, sometimes we've even run 2 buses to some of those things, even with the 24 and the 12, so,
That's great.
yeah.
Can I ask a question? You have a separate boiler from the Board of Ed that you have to maintain, is that?
We'll get there.
You're
in a
gonna
little
get to that?
bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I will get there. If we want to switch gears to capital, I can answer those questions.
Well, because you were talking about vans, I just was curious.
What's the holdup on the van? Why is it taking so long?
It's per the state, so it's whatever the state contractor has used, however long they've taken to build it. So I think,
But it's two years now?
Real nice van.
yeah,
and the cost went up also during that time, which we
Well,
had
we had already
to.
purchased it though, right? So,
we didn't, we got a grant for it. So $126,000 cost, we got for $12,000. We have to.
It's brand new, so
It's
it's a
brand new, we
grant.
have to do paperwork on it, there's reporting, there's quarterly reports that we have to
Guidelines.
submit on every single miles, and there's guidelines on how we can use that bus. That's part of why we got it at the price we did.
when we get it.
When we get it, that's the other part. We have successfully run one from them for 5 years. We're almost at the end of that grant cycle, and the town owns it outright once it's completed.
It's kind of delay for new vehicles, pretty typical, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I think they use the same manufacturer for all of the vehicles, so I
The
think there's
efficiency
a
of
backlog of over 126 buses from COVID times.
So I mean, that's a grant we have to be patient.
Days, this takes.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
thank you for clarifying that.
Absolutely. So moving on to the capital.
Yep.
I don't have a slide for the capital, but what had been
Is
included.
it part of, is it in our packet?
It is in your packet. It is in your packet. What had been included for capital, had been put in prior to some of the other conversations. So, the electrical shed for Memorial, we're no longer asking for. We're going to come forward when Fran and I have a different plan for this. This was regarding some of the vandalism that was happening to the electrical meters that was creating some unsafe situations. We put a number in, but we are reevaluating how to do it more cost effectively. So we'll come back before you with a plan for that. The replacement boiler at STW, as you discussed in your finance subcommittee meeting, we're hoping to put that through with the bond resolution, so that does not need to be funded through capital either.
So is
But,
this,
yeah, go ahead.
finish.
I was gonna say, the boiler, the Board of Ed paid, there are 2 boilers in the STIW building, both of them failed recently. They paid for one, we're on the hook for the other one. I don't know how, as far as I'm told, I don't know. We have to fix both boilers
But,
at some point.
but, so if it costs 12,000 to fix theirs and it's gonna, or one, and it's gonna cost 50,000 to fix the other, when both of the costs be combined and it's a 50-50 split and not, oh, we'll take the cheaper one and you get the more expensive?
They're both the same.
It's both the same cost?
That 12,000 is what they already paid for one.
But, and so the same repair has to be done to the other and it's $12,000? Okay,
And that's the anticipated cost.
That's a new boiler?
no,
No, it's repaired.
It's a repair.
and it's probably the original boiler.
To my knowledge, it is. The other two, as we came before you, were for the grants. So the capital is for the ADA accessible trail and the North Farm Bridge Trail. We won't need the capital unless we actually get the grant. So, but we put it in as a capital improvement project. And Anthony, I guess, included these. Next year, we're going to need to do the resurfacing of the Northford Park basketball and tennis courts. So you guys funded the memorial courts for this year, and that's slated to be done this spring. We have one more year on the life cycle of those, but next year we'll need to come forward. So if you look at your budget, it's budgeted for the following year. It is not included in this year's capital. And the same thing for the multi-purpose turf field that we've continued to talk about, which again can be pushed out further. So I think that summarizes the capital. And unless there are any further questions, I think that concludes our presentation. Thank you so much for your time.
Does anyone have any?
And I'd like to note we're exactly on the 20-minute mark.
I do.
You have time we're going?
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You're looking for what? Huh? Yeah.
Is this the new one? Where's the circle?
That's the old one. We ain't going there.
Okay, thank you, Park and Rec. Next up is the fire department. So,
They went over.
and the clock is ticking.
I'm
No.
going. So what you have before you basically is a front and back highlighting our operations and our budget. As I mentioned on the front page, I think these are very exciting times for the fire department. The items I listed there, we just put the $1.6 million truck one into service. Our new ambulance is on the verge of going into service. Running 2 paramedic ambulances 24/7, which is having some life-saving measures. It's really great. Steady flow of new members, which is hopefully keeping the volunteer department alive in our town, something that many towns around us are not experiencing. We're running a Firefighter One program, which is taking our newer members and giving them the essential skills they need to do some interior firefighting tactics, being run in town, where in the past we've had to send folks out of town at a greater cost. We're using our own resources that you guys previously funded, the training tower on Forest Road, and it's working out really, really well. The Board of Fire Commissioners have taken some action for retention type basis you guys passed a month or so ago, to allow people past age 65 to earn pension credits. They're also researching now the age 70 cap, another issue, again, to keep the people with years of experience instead of throwing them out. The fire department budget up merely 2.63%. Some of the items, again, fuel costs are lower. You're gonna see that across the whole shoot and match. We did increase the annual stipend that our members receive. It started out in the year 2000, was a public act that put $1,000 in and went to $1,020 probably 8 years ago. It hasn't been touched since. The thought is to bring it to $1,100. Again, it's a slight thank you to the members and recognition of all the service they put in. We are exploring both in this department budget as far as others townwide, alternatives to Comcast. We're looking probably go to a streaming service for our fire department and ambulance buildings. We're obligated to provide TV, but the cost of Comcast for buildings that really aren't used 90% of the time is ludicrous what we're paying. We're looking at that. The ambulance operating budget is up 8.42%. This is going to be the first full year under our Northeast Fire Rescue contract. You remember a year or so ago, we had to change our contract provider that we previously used for 20 odd years. The operation couldn't be running any smoother. The gentleman from Northeast uses us as his poster child for how contract labor and non-contract labor get along in the same building. It's a great relationship that we have with them, and the folks are really doing a great job. And what's noteworthy is that the number of shifts that our own members are taking up at a much lower cost than we would use contract labor for is increasing all the time. We budget about 30% use of our own forces, our contract labor, I should say. And as of the last payment, it runs between 9 and 15. So the members are really stepping up, pulling additional shifts that are really saving us from having to hire a contracted EMT to do them. Let's see, the 4th ambulance, again, we're running 2 ambulances now. We had a situation where we basically were almost on the verge of having 2 crews and 1 ambulance. So the board agreed with keeping the old ambulance as just a spare to use basically for an insurance policy and put in service if we need to. And the backside is capital expenditures. We received notification from the company called Firematic that services our Hearst rescue tool. You heard the term Jaws of Life. In both situations, both in Rescue 1 and Rescue 2, our 2 primary heavy rescue units in town, the equipment has been deemed obsolete and parts are not available. So we were provided quotes to replace the rescue equipment, the tools on Company 1 and Company 2's truck. That's a capital item. The point that brings it to the forefront is that we've been advised now that they are obsolete and not serviceable. So we kind of have a little bit of a
So can we,
responsibility
so can we
situation.
buy one and use the other one for parts? You know, buy one year and one the next
Well,
year, that you can use one for parts for the other one, and?
We could spread them over 2 years. We could definitely spread them. We could do one year and make the best of both, one for a second. That's definitely a possibility. We can make it work that way. We're amenable. The second item is the increase the use of iPads, similar to what the police have the MDTs in their cars to get information out. We can go to buildings and get pre-plans on fires. We can get notification of, hey, we've been to that guy's house before and he's been unruly patient, or things like that. Notifications that they can't say over the air, they would put onto the iPad and be able to get information to our crews. Similar to everybody that works in the construction trade, the use of battery-powered equipment, tools, hand tools, saws, drills, things like that, basically has skyrocketed. Eliminating the need to have a generator in the apparatus, to string long extension cords in for saws and lights and everything else. We're looking to expand the use of Milwaukee tools across the whole department, so that if we have a major incident, everybody has the same tools. Right now we have a little bit of a hodgepodge, some DeWalt, some Milwaukee, and we'll have the same batteries, be able to run multiple saws, multiple fans, whatever happens to be the case, all be on the same playing survey. It's pretty good. Our Scott packs, we talked about that previously, about $650,000 to replace those. We do have a Fire Act grant that's in the works, waiting to see how that plays out. If we do get the grant, we're on the hook for 5%, which is $32,500. We'll see. The current inventory was another Fire Act grant that Chief Seward received in 2007. Capital number 5, the ambulance building at 1351 Middleton Avenue was built as a volunteer house back in 2003 with a kitchen that was designed for a periodic, infrequent use. And right now we have 4 people living there 24/7. In fact, the stove burned up over the weekend, so I had this new stove coming on Thursday. But the thought is to go in and remodel the kitchen to make it more conducive to a situation where people are living 24/7. Replace the appliances, replace the countertops. The countertops are the particle board ones, and the Formica top has split, and the Formica is swelling from water getting underneath there. So it's not really the best operation, for our people that are, saving lives. And again, as you might have saw on the Facebook page last Thursday night, we recognized some folks, police, fire, dispatchers, who were involved in a successful CPR save in January. So those are really noteworthy situations. The last item I want to talk about is Engine 1. I know that's been talked about several times. It is a 1995. It is the busiest engine in our department. And unfortunately, the longer that we wait to replace that engine, the cost is going to continue to escalate. The engine, one of the thoughts was to keep it similar to the new Engine 3. Well, that Engine 3, we paid $675,000 for the truck alone about 2 or 3 years ago. That same truck that Deputy Chief Colangelo costed out was now $880,000, destined to be over $1 million in a couple of years. So the longer we procrastinate and say, okay, let's hold off, let's see if we can make it last another year, it's just going to keep escalating the cost to the numbers that are just going to be, mind-boggling. So that's in the equipment reserve that you have in your packet. That's the only new piece that's in there, is to get that, the tower one, the truck one lease we're obligated for. This is, I think, one of the last year or so. We're trying to get that into the mix for engine one. And as you just talked about before with the delay, we looked at buying a new ambulance. And we were told that Ford is out 36 months. You ordered one today. For 3 years, you won't get the ambulance. Dodge is supposedly out even further. So the same would pertain to engine one. If you ordered it today, there's a tremendous lead time that you won't see that until the truck has got 2 more years, 3 more years of its life underneath it. So again, it's a 95. It's the oldest truck we have in the department. Is it in good shape? I put the comment in there. All our apparatus is maintained by emergency vehicle technicians. We, whatever needs to be fixed, we fix. We don't skimp on anything. Our trucks are maintained really, really well. But there's going to be a point in time you got to replace the truck. And that's why it's in the reserve. The commission agreed with that, and it's in there as a listed item for the apparatus reserve.
If you got a new engine one,
Yes.
would you be able to, would anybody buy the one you have?
Certainly.
Or is it too old?
No, there's certainly a market for used apparatus. Yeah, I mean, we currently have one reserve piece. The old engine 3 became engine 5. We wouldn't keep 2 reserve pieces. We'd keep one or the other and then sell one. There's a market for used apparatus. You're not going to get a ton of money, quite honestly, for it, but you might get a couple $dollars for it. And that's like the tower. We're trying to sell the tower truck, the old tower truck. We're waiting to see how that plays out financially. There's a market for everything. You got to find the right person who is in a situation where his apparatus rolled over and he needs a truck like tomorrow to get in place. You might be able to get somebody like that. If your stars all align, you might somebody in place that needs it.
So if you were to order a new engine one, and if it's a 2 to 3 year wait time on there.
Yes.
So if you put a deposit down on it, would that hold the price?
Yeah, once you lock the contract, then you're buying you're signing the contract as of today's price.
But do you have to start paying for it at that point in time, or do you start paying? Do you delay it because you don't have it? Because right now we have several pieces that are on lease that take up the whole reserve.
Right.
So to start another payment in there, knowing that we're not going to get the truck for 2 years.
Correct.
Do you have to start paying for it, or can we get rid of some of those leases that are in there so that you start replacing them as the other ones go away?
Yeah, I see that makes perfect sense. Yeah, we can kind of feather them in so as the other expensive leases ends up, we can, but I don't want to wait. Again, this is only, I think, year 2 of 5 for the tower, for the truck one. So to put it out 5 years would really be.
No, I know, but there's ambulances in there, there's other things, in there,
Are we done
so.
with the new engine 3? When do we end up with the new engine 3?
It's on the, I don't have the schedule
So
with
you
me.
just said we're in year 2 of the tower?
It's a 5-year lease, yeah.
Right, so in 3 years, when we receive the vehicle, that tower's the lease payment.
2 years. We have probably a year left on the tower, right? If it was 2 years for.
So it was a 5-year lease
5-year
purchase.
lease, and he's
Yeah.
saying it's 36 months out for a new engine.
Oh, 36.
So basically, what you said, it would work.
Right,
Only
from the
if we-
financing,
from
the question,
financial point of
the issue is we typically have always had the financing in place before we sign the contract. Because you don't want to sign the contract saying we're going to buy the truck, and then for whatever reason, the town goes crazy and doesn't decide to fund it. So we've always kind of married them together to said, okay, if we're going to sign the contract in 24-25, we did the financing in 24-25 and started the payments at that point. I get your point about kind of spreading the risk a little bit and waiting them out till the tower truck gets a little bit further down the road or the ambulance gets paid off, whatever. We could definitely look at that, see if we work some kind of financing with the different vendors and say, okay, instead of starting the cycle now, let's sign the contract, we'll make the financial commitment as of today, but start the payments in 2 years down the road, something like that. I get what you're saying 100%.
Well, what's the most active engine in?
Engine 1.
Okay, engine 1. And we have 2 engine 3s?
We have engine 3, that's company 3's engine. The old engine 3 we keep as a reserve piece.
Or engine 5 you call it?
Engine 5, exactly,
Okay.
yes.
Would it make sense to take engine 1 and marry it to engine 5 and take engine 3 and put it in the number 1 firehouse?
No.
Why?
From a businessman perspective, that might make sense. From a morale perspective, you're saying to the people in Company 3, you're only worth second-class equipment. A lot of the volunteer fire department is based on pride. And to the equipment that they get, they're very, very proud of and take great care of. So on the surface, it might be a smart business decision to say, okay, we're going to take the newest piece and put it in the busiest place, and you get the crumbs.
It's a short-term business decision that could lead to a much more expensive problem in the future. If you lose your volunteer fire department, you're talking at least $7
Okay,
million.
all right,
Yeah.
I get it.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
we
No,
like the
But
big picture.
here's another scenario.
Okay.
So what is engine 5?
Engine 5 is a
No,
1990.
what's it for?
It's a reserve piece that we've used all over town
Right.
when trucks are breaking.
So why can't we continue to use engine 1?
Yeah.
Because we have engine 5 as a backup.
Right.
That's another a decision that can be made before we start trying to spend more money.
So you're saying not replace engine 1, keep engine 1 until it dies, and then use engine.
Or until we're in a better financial situation with our leases and our leases for, all the various ambulances and, equipment.
Right.
I'm just throwing out
No,
other alternatives, just, because this is on the back of the taxpayer too. So-
Exactly.
Well, the other option, and I don't know if this has been talked about in the department, is there a way to make on any new purchase, engines, brush trucks, whatever, I know we're only gonna have one tower, so I'm not gonna say each department's gonna end up with a tower, or truck now, as they're called. But is there a way that we can standardize an engine or whatever?
Right.
So it goes to company 1,
Right.
but then as you get wear and tear on it, can you rotate it so that you can start rotating the equipment so that it always doesn't stay, that it gets the most use, that you kind of even it out? Is that a possibility?
That's the same concept that basically Tom's talking about. To go to your point of standardization, Deputy Chief Colangelo was the one in charge of the Engine 1 committee. And that's one of the thoughts he's thinking of also. Engine 3, if we use that as the standard, let's say, going forward, then all the trucks in town would be identical. So that if you happen to be a member of Company 1 and you're in District 3 at a party or something, you'd know exactly where the trucks are lined up, what's in which compartment. So your point is valid about standardization. Part B of that about rotating amongst the companies is the same thing that Jeff's talking about. You're gonna aggravate certain people to the point where they're like, okay, we're treated like stepchildren, we're not appreciated.
Well,
I'll
no,
take
because
this-
they're
I'll take
still,
this a
they're
step
still.
further, though. You can't standardize those trucks, because our two sides of town are very different. You have a lot more access to water in North Branford than you do in Northford. Northford, you have to have more water holding ability, more pumping ability.
Right.
They don't have hydrants up there. So you have to have a truck that's gonna hold more water up in Company 3 than you would at Company 1. Company 1 has a heck of a lot more access to public water sources. So to standardize it doesn't make sense because they're just two different areas. And the same's true that you don't need a tower truck up at Company 3. It would never make sense, it wouldn't be used. Every department, so there's the pride part of it, and I can talk to this from being a fireman in the past, that these gentlemen and these ladies feel very strongly towards the equipment that they have. And yes, everyone wants to have the new, nice, shiny piece, and I get it, but there's some pride to how you're taking care of it. It's, to move it out, I think it does bring a morale issue, which will end up costing us more in the future if you look at further economics. But outside of that, it's hard to standardize something that they're very different topographies, very different things. Even, for instance, a brush truck. A brush truck in North Branford is much different than a brush truck in Northford. In Northford, we've been able to keep Brush 3 for an extensive period of time because it works for the area that it's in. And we've also had, what's the little thing we got up there?
Ranger.
The Ranger one that works very well to augment that process. So it's very hard to standardize equipment per house. There's I mean, maybe a little bit closer to 2 in 1, but 3 in itself is completely different.
So engine 3.
Would you agree with that, Chief?
Well,
Engine 3 is company 3.
right, so, yeah, engine 1, engine 2, engine 3, is that how, yeah?
Yes, sir.
They're all totally different?
Currently, yes.
Totally different in what way? Just because they're different years? And
Different years, different
models?
compartment configuration, what's kept in certain compartments. There's a little bit of uniformity, but
Yeah.
they're not identical trucks.
Okay, all right.
So do we have any equipment that's coming off the lease presently? Anything besides, I mean, obviously, we just did the tower.
Yeah.
We have the ambulance, and then.
Well, I think engine 3 is almost,
Yeah, because I don't have the schedule in front of me. I think it's in your packet.
Yeah, engine 3, I think, is a year out, right? I thought from what I remember.
it might be the last year.
We're a year out from that.
Engine 1, engine 3 is done.
Oh, okay.
Engine
So-
t-
So going into the 24-25 year. engine-
Tower 1 has got payment 2 out of 5. The ambulance has payment 2 out of 4. So your ambulance runs out in 27, 28, and the tower runs out in 28, 29. So you got some time. You got a lot of time out before you know, if you want to wait that long, I think that's,
Just a question, how many hours does engine 1 have?
I don't have it on
It's
me.
not, it's not the years, how many hours does it have?
Yeah, we can get that information for you on top of my head.
Don't you go by hours, not by years?
Not by miles. Hours are more important than miles, because,
Right, so how many hours does this?
yeah, we have to get it for you. We can get the information for all the fleet.
Anthony, I asked this question back last year, basically what we've been talking about. And when I asked the question about why can't we take the trucks with the higher miles and put it, we'll call it the quieter police station. And time kind of stopped in here when I asked that question. And then now when it was asked again, you say, well, you know, you're gonna be handing it down as if they're second-class citizens. That saying it like that's kind of insulting. That nobody would be saying that, but I truly, that answer, I don't understand how, I mean, I get, yeah, you have a truck, but if it's what's better for the town, nobody's gonna give you a junk truck, but if you have the quiet house and it's not being used, why would you not have the higher mileage truck that works, that everything works on it? That's, to me, and I don't mean to talk like, you know, hey, you guys are employees.
Right.
But that would be like having a business.
Right.
And one of your workers comes in and says, oh, I always drive the new truck. I'm not driving the old truck. I'm not
Right.
a second class. No, nobody's saying that. We're saying what's best for the town is for you to take this so we don't have to buy another $1 million truck.
Right.
It would be best for the town. And to me, I just don't understand. I understand the pride and stuff, but you can take pride in an older vehicle too. I wanted to say that because I asked it last year, now we're talking about it again.
Well, I think, to go back to Tom's, I think from a business decision purely, that's the way you want to do it. From an overall looking at the big picture, saying, do you want to keep a volunteer fire department in town?
People are gonna leave because we move a fire truck from one fire truck?
I wouldn't say they're going to leave, but there's the connotation, the appearance that you're saying, okay, because you have less call volume than these guys, we'll give all the new trucks to this guy, and you get the used vehicles. Sorry.
Well, we're not saying that, but we're saying if you took this one truck and switched it, that, to me, I mean, so we're gonna have 5 volunteer firemen who we really appreciate, they're all gonna walk in and go, oh, they changed, we switched fire trucks, that's it, I'm out of here, forget this. I mean, that's really gonna happen?
Andy, I get what you're saying, coming from emergency perspective. All right, it's basically, it has nothing to do with that, all right? Because it happens in the police department, when the person comes with a new car, everybody wants that new car. It has nothing to do with who's gonna quit, who's gonna leave, or anything like that. It's just a point of being respected, all right? So if you get a new car and they decide to take a new truck, should I say, and they take it from one point and give you the old one, it's not, it has nothing to do with anything. It just makes you feel like you're necessarily needed, and you're just not treated the same way as
So who gets
others.
the new car?
The new car, it always depends on who is the ones that maintain, and that they maintain theirs very well. Who takes care of the car properly, who's always up on everything, and who is working more.
So the new
You know?
car goes to the person that takes care of the car the best?
And works more.
Intrinsically.
You know what I mean? So we all work a lot, but you know, you always have the one person that's always moving around. So they don't say, okay, we're gonna give you the old car because you move around. We give the person, you know, everyone's treated fairly. So, and it all takes turns. They rotate the cars. So this person will get a new car, and then it goes to this person, that's their concept the same way. Has nothing to do
So
with.
you're saying it rotates?
Right, and that's basically what, they just got a new truck, so now they want a new truck up the other end, correct?
Well,
I'm kind of saying it should rotate.
But when there's only so much funding in the pot, or actually we don't have the pot, we have to go bond the money, so we really don't have the money.
Right.
You know, we have to make, there has to be decisions made, right? And I get all that, but I also, you know, I understand the pride thing, we have a very good organization in town.
Right.
I'm not saying we don't, I know we do. I've lived here my whole life, I know it. But at the same time, we also, we try, and I think it shows, we're committed to our volunteers.
Sure.
We do, you know, there are some perks that we supply them because we want to recognize them.
Right.
So it's a tough place to be, you know, with the
Right.
with capital equipment, I guess.
You gotta remember too that we're getting 30+ years out of these apparatus. I mean, so we're not like buying them every 5 years saying, okay, we're gonna swap them out for the sake of swapping them out. You're getting 30 years out of a truck, which, you know, there's standards and guidelines, things like that. And you're starting to push the limit where it's not in compliance with any kind of standards or anything. You know, it's,
Yeah.
I think we just have to, I mean, we're asking these questions
Sure.
because we don't know, and so we're looking at it from a business sense.
Oh, sure.
And we want to know from the department, like, we came up with these ideas, and what are the pros and cons to
Right.
them?
No, I'm
So
open to
it definitely
conversation.
has nothing to do with the departments, because our volunteer fire departments are second to none.
Mm-hmm.
They really do, and we see that, and we have been supporting them.
Oh, yeah.
We just need to understand it better and to see once what avenues are available to us.
It's a big
and
ticket.
Why it would work or why it would not work.
No, I
And so
understand.
I hope there's no offense taken from any of the departments. We are just trying to gather information here, in
but
to
I
make-
mean, all these guys are taxpayers as well.
Right,
You know,
and to
so they
make-
get the predicament you're in. It's nice to say buying everybody a new truck every 5 years. It's not gonna happen. It's not realistic.
Right.
So, I mean, they get the
It just so happens that I know because we had Engine 3, Tower 1, we've had some ambulances, you know, other vehicles that we have,
Right.
all seem to have come at the same
Because
point
we
in
haven't
time.
allocated.
And,
Right.
and so,
timeframe.
so we
That
just,
said,
yeah, we
you
just
can't
need.
get rid of engine 1 and bring it to company 3, they still need a new truck. If engine 1 went up to company 3, you'd need another, now engine 3, because they just replaced engine that was there, so it's, and I don't think there's that much of a difference. If you were to swap them around, there's more volume in company 1, but it's not extensively more volume that it would change it, maybe a year difference between the service time that you need a new truck. So there's a behavioral economics part of it, but there's also the fact that is the juice worth the squeeze? It's not gonna change that much economically, I don't think. Am I correct in that thought process?
Yeah, I think it's a big picture discussion, no doubt about it. And I appreciate the position you're in. The numbers are not $10. You're talking, you know, probably $1 million when all is said and done for a piece of apparatus.
Yeah.
It's going to last you 30 years, which is an important fact that we can't lose sight of. And, you know, if you're a person that lives, let's say, in District 3, because they have the lowest call volume, we're going to give them, you know, used, for lack of a better word, apparatus and say, okay, you pay the same taxes as somebody in this end of town. Possibly more, but you're gonna get a piece of equipment that's a hand-me-down because these guys have more call volume. Business decision.
I'm not arguing what they're saying, I'm just saying, and in no way am I saying that the fire department in any way we're not happy with that.
Yep.
Like, we're talking,
Big money.
yeah, we're talking this town now, we just put a new school in, we're putting a new police station in, we're spending ridiculous amounts of money, and as Rose said, we're trying to save money.
Right.
And I asked that question last year, now I asked this, and I don't think it's a huge thing. Obviously, there's pride and everything, but in no way am I saying, oh, those guys up there, they're not worth anything. Let's just throw them the old vehicles.
Right.
Truly saying, you have way less volume.
Right.
So would it hurt to transfer one fire truck over there so maybe we can get a few more years out of it and not have to spend?
Right.
Because, you know, as a council member, basically, especially the past couple of years, I'm not saying just the farmer, I'm talking in general to the whole town right now. Alls we do up here is give away millions and millions of dollars. And I know Thomas said this line before, it's only a town of 14,000 people, and we give away millions and millions of dollars. So that's why I'm asking that question, and I did say to you, it's kind of insulting to me by asking that question when you sit there and say, oh, we're treating them like second class. That's by far the opposite. That's not what I'm doing.
Right.
Just
That would be the optics, though.
that's not what I'm doing.
I get what you're saying. Again, from a business decision, it makes all the sense in the world, but the optics are, you guys are slow, you get the hand-me-downs, just get the new.
And that's where the leaders come in and explain that's not the situation, you know?
That is so far from what, that's not even close to
It's
what
not
I'm
the
talking about.
intention, is what you're saying. That's not the intention, but
No.
Yeah, that's
it's
not
the
even-
optics
that's not
from the
even-
people that use it.
Your equipment, after, is there any other equipment that's coming up in the future? I'm always thinking down the road. So if we do engine 3,
Engine one.
Engine.
or engine 1, sorry, I apologize. What's coming down the road?
Well, the last page in our packet here is
I
the
saw it.
reserve. So what I see is,
For equipment, no, for
Re-
another,
For
replace
apparatus.
medic 4 and emergency 2, it looks like.
Those are outlying years, yeah, those are
Yes.
subject to change.
That's coming down, that's like
It's
3-4
not-
years.
It doesn't stop.
I know it doesn't stop. It's just, so
Right.
we're gonna go and spend
Cycle.
another 850,
Right.
we're gonna spend $850,000 on another engine. Okay. But do we have to budget every year $1 million?
No, we should budget something, even when we're not picking up, that's the problem for years. North Branford has punted on spending money, and now we're paying the piper. We
So
have to
we're
spend it
not
all at
plan-
once.
we're not planning
That's
for-
why we have a police
planning for the
station
future.
and a
Right,
school.
well, that goes back to a comment I think Jeff is talking about. If you go back and turn the clock back to
You can't.
years and years ago, different town managers, you put $300,000 or $400,000 a year into a reserve. That's part of the tax base, because you know every X amount of years, you're gonna replace apparatus.
So that's why I'm asking. So if we can sit there and start planning,
Right.
budgeting.
Well, and
You do it now.
that's why, how many years ago did we implement in the budget for capital approximately $1.2 million
Of general fund money,
in
correct?
general fund money? And the council, and some of us have been on it through that whole thing, we've been very protective of keeping that in the budget so that we can do exactly this.
And a large portion of the 1.2 million is the two reserves between Public Works and Fire. That's
Correct.
the major portion of that money.
Correct.
I'm just-
And so we've been very good about keeping that in the budget. We took the hit the first year we put it in there because at that time, that was about $1 million increase. But every year after that we've kept it in there, it hasn't increased the taxes, but we've had the money because we took the hit, and it had to be at least 6 years
It
ago.
was a while, yeah.
Or
So we
7
have-
years ago.
So we have money in the budget. There's
Every
money-
year, every
but
year.
There's money there to sit there and do this.
Yeah, and that's why I asked the question about the lease payments and the
Right.
staggering of them, so that the money that they're getting now in capital reserve, we can plan it out, and can we delay it a year, because then that is 1 year less, and then we get closer, so that we're not, at this point in time, we don't have the money to increase
Right.
the capital reserve.
Because we're gonna take money out of it to sit there and, out of the reserve, we have to replace it, and it's not $800,000, it's $1 million, because I get it.
Right.
No. I
Right,
totally
so
understand.
that's what we're looking at, that's what we're trying to do, is to keep the reserve that they're getting, and how can we effectively,
There was a time we used to pay cash for apparatus because money was put in periodically, every year into the reserve. So when it came time to replace a piece, You paid cash for it. You didn't have to finance it over, lease purchasing thing. That's the way you should get to. That's to be the goal, to get X amount of dollars in there so that, you map out the years.
Yeah, but if we did that, we'd kill the taxpayers. Right now, if we decided we wanted to do
Right.
cash, then we'd kill the taxpayers, and you can't do that.
We're in
Right.
the process of doing that now.
Yeah.
What, because we built the high school?
Killing the taxpayers.
No. Well,
Well,
actually.
That's why
we're moving into-
economic building is so important in towns, so it's not all in taxpayers' base. I mean, it's what we've been talking about, getting money from building businesses in town, so that it's not coming off just the people that own houses. We've been talking about this for a while. That's how towns make revenue, guys. We have to build business in town so that revenue comes
Just
in.
like running a business.
They're simple
Last
concepts
question.
we have to embrace.
This new building that's being put up on 139, it's a
Yeah.
medical facility.
Yes.
Gosh, you just keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, does it have anything to do with the fire department?
Yes.
Because
Okay.
that's what we're talking about right now.
this is fire.
Stick on topic.
Yeah,
Does it
so,
have anything to do with ambulance, fire, emergency management?
Not that we anticipate.
Nothing.
I'm sure there'll be call volume, just like any other building in town, whether they're building
But
the
it won't be-
Starbucks on the corner, we'll have call volume for that.
The
People,
alleged Starbucks on the corner.
the alleged Starbucks. I mean, so I don't think it's any like, it's not like,
Starbucks on
oh,
the corner.
company one can just walk there.
the Starbucks, yeah, true.
Allegedly, they can walk there.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, I know there's a lot of stories and rumors
There's a lot of
and
innuendo, there's a lot of rumors.
I don't
going
believe that
around.
what we understand to be the case, it's not gonna be a tremendous draw on our resources.
Well, we can put it over Branford, right?
Okay, does anyone else have any other questions for the fire department? Or is there anything else you want to talk about in your budget?
No, I'm good.
You're good?
Board, anything you wanna say? Members, anything you wanna say? Mark, anything? Bob? Go ahead, Bob. Deputy Chief Colangelo.
Bob Colangelo, one of the deputy chiefs. Really appreciate and the members, we really appreciate what you've done for us in the past. And we definitely appreciate this conversation and these questions. Makes a lot of sense in some aspects, and then we have some issues on our end, obviously. We are obviously in unprecedented times. The apparatus used to take probably 220 to 260 days to build. Looking at almost 3 to 4 years to build a piece of fire apparatus. A simple engine, not a rescue pump or not a ladder. Price increases have grown exponentially. Any department that was prudent that had a replacement or reserve, it totally blew it out of the water. And with ARPA money and replacement programs and everything else, all the departments with they're going through the supply chain issues and the extended delivery times. It's really skewed the way fire departments are replacing apparatus and the time in which they do that. I'm going to echo what Anthony said. We're getting, hopefully replacing a 30-year-old truck by the time that comes in. That truck will then move to be reserve status and replace the 1990. So we'll probably, in theory, get 35 years out of the apparatus. I think we got a lot of bang for our buck. We replace them, try to replace them regularly. Good maintenance program. Every year, the annual DOT inspection, pump tests, ladder tests, hose tests, everything's inspected and tested on a regular basis per DOT and NFPA and whatnot. But I just want to support Anthony. I support this budget, as well as the fire commissioners. And I just appreciate, as a taxpayer, the considerations that you have and the questions that you have. And I do understand.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob, appreciate it.
Okay. If there's no other questions, we are going to close fire department and move on to the police department. Thank you very much for coming tonight.
Thank you.
What's going on?
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, all right, guys, Chief Lovelace is here and ready to go over his budget. So floor is yours, Chief.
Perfect. Good news is I'm not looking for a fire truck, so. Yeah, so this is out of the 9 years or so I've been doing this. This is probably one of my most unexciting budgets to bring you, but I think that's kind of good news on your end. This is probably the flattest budget I've ever brought in front of you as a request. So other years I would bring you a sheet and I would give you percentages and show you increase by line items. It doesn't work that way this year because I combined the communications budget and the police budget all in one. And in doing that, I categorized a number of the line items and put them really the correct places where they should have been over the years. So those percentages really would have been skewed in such a way that it didn't make sense to bring it to you in that format. So what I thought would be easier is to really just show you the highlights here. And what we're asking for is a total increase of 303,227. And to break that down for you on how simple of a budget this was to present in this format is we added 3 new bodies with the blessing of the town. And those personnel services plus increased cost to retirement, Social Security that we always get for all the officers there, that total alone brought 252,865. So your majority of my ask this year is just that personnel contractual services right there. The next big breakdown you see is contractual services. So we're blessed to be hopefully at some point moving into this new building. And as we're very excited and eager to get into that building, especially so I want to attend Monday night meetings with the building committee. I enjoy them, but it's getting old like anything else. But so some of these costs that are broke down with the contractual services is the utility cost. So using a calculation, and this is an estimate, and I want you to be aware that these are estimated costs that I use professionals to give me numbers to try to estimate a number. Nobody want to put her name on it. But there's obviously, have a bigger building, there's going to be more energy that's used. We're on Wallingford Electric, there's savings there, but you're also in a bigger building. So the increased cost for electrical is one of them. Uniform allowance is very small, but we added 2 new officers, so I got to account for that cost. There's a small increase to our CAD RMS vendor. It's the support contract, very minimal. The building cleaning, this is another one that worries me that nobody could give me a number on. So for approximately about $26,000 is what we pay for our building cleaning at our current facility. Using calculations, and I think I'm probably going to be a little bit under, but I don't want to over budget these items. But you're looking at, in that area alone, we're estimating a $25,000 increase in that area. So we're tripling the amount of square footage. I'm doubling the cost of cleaning. I'm hoping we can work with it's got to go out for, again, to pick the vendor, but we'll see where that ends. New to this budget year, if you remember back, I had come before you for ARPA money for a taser and body-worn camera bundle package. The town decided not to pursue that through an ARPA funding, but said they wanted to do it budgetary. So that first payment is coming up, and that's a $42,000. So that obviously is a big increase to our budget. So if you add all those numbers plus materials and supplies, we're heating the building with propane, which is cleaner, more efficient, so it's bringing more life on the mechanicals in the building. Using formulas, I'm estimating going from oil to this with a $9,000 increase. And then my last increase is just technical supplies. We always estimate a 5% because costs always go up every year. That's your ammo, that's your medical supplies, that's everything else that goes into the building. So a small increase there of $2,159. To kind of show you how I tried to keep this as low as possible, I wanted to show you some of the cost reductions in the budget. So I think it was laughed about when we came in, I presented it with the cops hiring grant, and I don't remember who said it, but it was a question of, will you ever reduce overtime? And there was the kind of laughed, everybody laughed. I think I myself was also, and said, yeah, we never reduce overtime, right? We always go up. But I believe through my calculations, I reduced it by $12,000, almost $500. Right now, we're seeing a motor fuel and lubricant deduction. We're not under contract, but using what purchasing has provided us, we're estimating just under $13,000 there. We're saving on telephone. If you look at my spreadsheet, you're gonna see, I live with that, so you might see highlighted things or things in green or stuff. It's just because I reorganized, and in the first year, you really wanna keep things there because you wanna make sure you didn't forget anything and the way everything moved around, especially for my secretary when she does our purchase orders. But a lot of those are markers in there. You're gonna see with the new buildings, we bought a new phone system. Well, then I don't have to have the service contract over here, so I was able to decrease that. We picked up a 5-year contract, but you'll see an expiration date of 2029 or 2028, whatever the contract was we signed up for. Those are really just markers for me to know that we have to renegotiate or we have to find a new contract or whatever, replace that product, what it is. So if you go through line item by line item in the budget, I just don't want you to get confused, but those are really highlights for me. We have a deduction in equipment maintenance. Obviously, we have all brand new equipment going into the building, right? So I was able to alleviate a lot of those line items that we're not gonna need for services. Facility maintenance goes the same. Equipment rental, that was typically the new radios, the old radio system, that's where those funds came out of. So a lot of those, obviously, we don't need anymore. They were eliminated. I'm just showing it there. Professional development, I was able to, it's almost 9,000. I'm not asking for any new officers this year. Even though we have the grant, we're very fortunate of where we are, and I realize other departments are in need, and we have 5 years to do the grant. So right now, I'm not asking for any additional bodies, but that cost would have been to put them through the academy, equipment, and so forth. So 77,151 is total reduction that I eliminated out of the budget this year. The cops hiring grant doesn't show in our front page of our budget ask. It's revenue, so I can't really put a line on them there to do it properly to show you that. But what I can tell you is that $83,333 is what we're eligible to receive back in reimbursement for those two officers that the town did hire. So our total operating budget, the way I see it, would be $219,894. That's why I just made it bigger there, because I wanted to make that stand out in your mind of what my belief is my actual number there. But that's my unexciting operational budget for
I just, the cops grant, do they pay the benefits too, or is it just the wages?
Yep, they include
pay
that.
everything.
Yeah, so, but it's not 100%.
Right.
So it's a formula. The town, it was a matching grant for the federal
Right, I know, but
in the town, but yes.
remember.
But in that formula, they pay those matching costs up until 41 change is what they get for each officer.
41,000 change per year?
41, and you split 83,333, and that will give you what each, by two, that will give you.
So it's a combination of salary and benefits,
Yeah.
and when you reach the 41,400.
That's it,
roughly,
that's your max over the 3-year period per each officer.
Per year?
Per year, so 41 per an officer, per year for 3 years, and that
Okay.
gives you a total of just shy, it's like
Well,
124 change. You only get
125.
You only get 125 per person.
Okay.
Chief, under your cost reduction section, the equipment rentals,
Yep.
does that include the money we're saving from not having to pay for Parsonsville?
Yeah. So in the last year's budget, we only had budgeted for, I think up until September, because they were telling us we'd be done by July at that point, and it kept running late, and then August. So if we had budgeted the whole year, that would have been over $40,000, but it was just, that is encumbered in that cost, yes.
And in the new police station, now that we went forward with the second floor and our EOC, is that a regional center, or is that just for North Branford, that EOC?
That EOC is just for ours.
It's just ours?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no...
And I'm not gonna speak for Jim Buck, but that's what we built it for right now. I don't know if he has any plans for the future, but yeah.
Okay, I mean, I was just looking to see
Yeah.
if any part of the new building, if any of it was for regional services, and would we get anything from those other towns or regions to offset some of the costs?
We house like the vehicle, is that it?
Yeah, so there is, on that second floor, in that portion of that area, we have a regional computer crimes team that each, so in our line items, there's a cost, like the SWAT team, it's $5,000 per year. Each town puts in that cost. There's no savings for us that way. The real savings really comes for, it's kind of everybody got the savings because right now we're down in New Haven. We have a lease. We pay extreme amounts for licenses and everything else.
Yeah.
Being able to house it in our police department, one, we get the benefit of it 24/7. We can reduce a lot of those operational costs in there. That makes it beneficial, so each of us don't have to raise those line items each year going forward. But the licenses on the computer crime stuff it beats us up pretty good. Not just us, but all the towns.
Yeah.
It really is. So.
But that's,
Jim, there's capital requests.
I can get there if you're ready to move that way.
I was gonna ask a question on it.
Yeah.
Where are you going to?
I think we're still on operational.
I only have two, so I can throw it out there.
I
It's
know,
not-
no,
yeah.
go, no.
I
No,
took-
I was gonna
I
ask.
took the
about-
helicopter off,
With the new
but-
building, won't it be applying for electric? You don't save any, it's because it's a bigger building?
We do save, but you're going from a 7,500 square
Right.
foot right now to we're probably a little bit over 21,000. And it's not all 21,000 occupying space, but footprint of the building. So there's gonna be higher energy costs. And like I said, that's an estimate for, it's gonna probably take me 2 to 3 years really to give you a solid number to say, hey, this is what we can
Many of these
expect.
costs are gonna be soft for
Yeah,
these
okay.
first few years.
yeah, you don't know what
Experience.
But I don't wanna come in here and quadruple the number and say, hey, listen, sorry, what we can
So
do,
you really
so,
have to live there for a couple.
yeah.
yeah,
So,
makes sense.
Jim, the two new Durangos,
Yep.
is that one of those, the new K-9 one we're getting? That's two more besides that?
No, that's two more besides that,
So that'd be three this year.
that would be, yes, yeah. So the K-9 vehicle is only for the K-9 officer to use. The other patrol vehicles are shared between 2 to 3 officers, depending on how we rotate the cars around for efficiency.
Is the K-9 one also Durango?
It is a Durango, so I switched from Fords to Durangos because it was gonna be almost another $20,000 on top of what the Ford price is. They've increased again and again and again.
So Ford going up and Ram
Yeah,
staying down, that's good.
yeah, so it's actually harder to get those vehicles than it is the Dodges. So there's cost savings there. They're replacing vehicles that have over 125 to 150,000 miles on them each. We've been in a very good cycle of maintaining, so I don't have to come and ask for 3 and 4. The K-9 vehicle is a little bit different because it's only operated by him, and it's over almost 6 years old, and it's just failing. It's not become truly adequate for the dog's needs, so that's right.
So since you're getting that new K-9 one, could you guys get away with just getting one of these other Durangos? That'd be two, still getting two.
We can survive with anything, but it comes with costs like anything else. So they're on the road 16 hours a day. And we've done this before where we've increased, the mechanical costs have gone out of control. We have people getting stuck on the side of the road trying to respond to calls, bring prisoners back. We were in a real mess that took us almost 5 to 6 years to dig out of so we can get into a stable place of this 2-car rotation, which I think I've come to the last 4 years and not asked anymore. Other than, the K-9 is a specialty vehicle, and I understand your point of 2, 3, and I know every department has needs that are out there right now. So I get it. I totally get it, and that's kind of my concept of this budget is where we are so thankful of that I really tried to cut every corner I could that I thought was reasonable going
Chief,
forward.
what were the two that you said mileage wise? You said about 48 to 50,000?
They're 125 plus, the two that we're replacing, yeah.
Is that the one that was just towed?
There was one that's towed, yeah. Yeah.
Is it?
No, we're paying to fix it now because I can't go without.
So it's not end of
I have
life?
another car that's sitting up at Madison Ford that we can't get parts for, but it's gonna be up there for almost 45 days.
So the one that just got towed, is it end of life?
No, we're gonna put money into it because.
Tow it around, the tow truck's got flashing lights.
Because
So it was up in Northford, I saw.
Yeah, no, listen, and we try to make them go as long as possible. That's the point, right? These 2 cars won't come in, just like everybody else has delays. I just got the second car that you approved for last year's budget. So, which we used to get in October, now we're in April. We're not like the other departments, but because they're smaller vehicles, but we're pushing, our timelines push as well, so.
Chief, I have a question for you. You can stop me if this is not appropriate to ask.
All right, you can stop there.
But in the incident where we had a vehicle that was damaged during a call, would that Yeah, and I just don't know the answer to this. Would that be covered if that motorist had insurance, or is that on the town?
No, so we had two. We
Yeah, I thought it was two times.
Two of our vehicles, a K-9 vehicle, one of them was struck by a drunk driver on his way
Yeah.
home in Durham.
Yes.
And that offender was arrested, and what we do is we process through our side, the town side first.
Okay.
Just because I can't wait for another
Understood.
company's insurance, and then the town's insurance goes and gets reimbursed from
They
that,
subrogate.
whoever that insured party is.
Okay.
And that was the same effect with the party we had in town, which did significant damage to one of our newer vehicles.
Yeah.
Which is still not right, it still
It's
keeps
still
going
breaking
back.
down.
They're
Electric,
never
all that.
good, just like any other car, you're never back to perfect again.
Yeah.
From an accident, but yes, but that gets reimbursed from.
Okay.
So the initial hit shows up on us, but then the town, I don't receive the money in my budget, but the town receives the
Okay.
payment.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Appreciate that.
It's also important to remember too that Jimmy's cars come down, they have a second life.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
They come to town hall, they go to the
Yeah.
fire marshal, there's a bunch of different lives
Of
that
course.
these things live on to. So it's important, as you mentioned, that we were in a rut, and now we have a point where the cars that are coming down here have some life left in them. Some of them might be beat, but whether it's Victor or building official or whatever, there's a second use for those cars.
That's
that
good.
They live on for a few years. So you don't wanna skimp on the top end, and then when he brings down here is totally junk, then we're stuck.
Yeah, we don't want to have, exactly.
Yeah, we switched to take the hours off the vehicles. We've been trying to keep a couple road job cars just for road jobs. And that's so we can, we're trying to get more life out of the vehicles.
There you go.
Yeah.
Engine one could go to Victor now.
So the second question I have.
Did we
is
ever
on your,
consider
second,
doing-
request?
Yep.
Is that per year or for the total life of the contract?
No, that's per a year. So the radio life cycle, we paid up front the 5-year cost when we bought this new radio system. So that was incorporated. My thinking is that it's gonna expire, we started in January because we signed the paper that the system was turned on. In 5 years from now, we're on the hook. It was 126,000 change, I think, for the 5-year contract we just paid. I added a couple percentage points because nothing's going down. And I just didn't want to come to you in 5 years if I'm still here and say,
Yeah, that's for
I need 150,000, right?
So
So we can start doing a reserve.
So that's,
Okay.
yeah, so,
This is all we talked about.
just trying to plan accordingly so that you can work your
Yeah,
numbers
these are
on
things that
your
are
side.
gonna come up. This is part of town building. You have to have these.
And you have to have that, that's not optional with the new race, that's the new licenses, that's the new software updates, that's what keeps all of our equipment, so we're never back in front of you asking you for a new radio system again. At
And
least in
on-
my lifetime here.
Right, and on the rotation of the cars, so we have been pretty good on our cycle. I mean, my first years on the council, we weren't. And so we got into a good cycle, but every now and then you hit a year with 3 cars, but we try to keep to the 2, and that's been working for us on there. So I know the K-9 vehicle is a little off-cycle because it's kind of mid-year, but, that was through no fault of our own on there. But I don't think I look at it as just going with the regular cycle of 2. And the K-9 was off-cycle, and like the chief said, it's a special car. It's only for one person. They can't rotate that car.
There was a time when police cars were in the operating budget, because it's an expense you're gonna have every year to do it right. So if you go back 10, 15, 20 years ago, every year in the operating budget,
Yes.
2 police cars.
Right.
It really is an operating expense. I mean, they go through cars they're running 24/7.
Yeah.
So whether you put them in capital and pay with it for general fund money, or you fund it in the general fund budget, it really is
It's still tax dollars.
still tax dollars.
Yeah.
And we're all SUVs now, right? We don't purchase sedans
almost like a
anymore.
consumer.
It's not that much of a difference
It's
anyway.
the best combo that we can get for our officers' needs.
That makes
so.
sense.
And these are patrol vehicles, these aren't admin vehicles, it's not going to the bureau, these are for the officers that on the road, so.
Okay.
And lead time?
What's that?
Lead time for these?
It's probably, I'm gonna be sitting for them 3 to 4 months at best case scenario from July, so it's gonna be end of this year at my best case scenario.
Faster than a fire truck.
Most likely, yeah, most likely.
And does that cover the vehicle? And
Complete outfit,
soup to nuts?
soup to nuts. The reason I break down the number in there is because sometimes Anthony likes to fund it with different state grant funds. So he needs to know they won't fund the outfit anymore, which I think we used to do. Yeah, so that's why I just broke out the exact number
So
for it.
41K for the vehicle, the rest was.
So last year's ask was 132,000. So like I said, we're trying to reduce costs wherever we can.
80,000 outfitted.
No, but that's two, 126 is for two vehicles.
Oh, my bad, of course. Yeah.
So it's
yeah,
63.
40 grand a piece to outfit them.
So, no, it's 20,000.
Oh,
20,000. 21,
You're right.
22.
Cost vehicles, 41, of course, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so each vehicle outfitted is
And that's new
63.
computers, new modems, cage, lights,
Right.
the works, so yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
And if we can swap things over, then we swap things over to save money, but
Makes sense.
it's depending on how to.
If you're going from a Ford to a Dodge, then
We can't use the cage, but there's sometimes we can grab like wigwag lights, or we can grab the control modules, or if some of the computer software or the stands are still good, we'll take those and put those if they work with the vehicle. So our vendor is very good about that. We price it out that we get a complete car, so I don't have to come back and say, hey, we tried to make this work, it didn't work, I need another $1,000 or whatever. But if we can, then it goes in there. I don't move the money from that account, it stays in the capital account, and it just rolls in, and there's never a surplus in there, but that's what it gets used for.
do we have any Durangos now?
This will be the first one coming in.
These are the first ones?
Yeah, we had Durangos in the past.
I thought we did.
Yeah,
Okay.
years ago, when I was on the road, yeah, but
Okay.
not since then, so. The Fords became cheaper and the best option, and now they're not anymore, but.
Makes sense.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for the chief?
No?
And look at that.
Good job. On the
Perfect
dot,
timing.
but
See that?
nice job.
Okay. Thank you,
Nice job.
chief.
All right, so.
Okay. So item 3 is questions on the 24-25 budget, but they're still working on the whole budget together, so we don't have that. Tonight, we just had departments coming before us, so that's fine. So we're just gonna skip that. And motion to adjourn.
Mayor, could I ask, for those of them sitting here since 5:30, we could take a 5-minute break?
We will, yes.
I was just gonna say that. I haven't
Okay.
seen all 5:30.
Okay.
Like I have to.
So we have another meeting, but it's executive session after this, which is just for the council. So we will take a 5-minute break.
Especially since I picked all that great water.
I guess these special.
Hey, no, seriously, I have heat. The town manager gave me a North River cup of water that I'm not going to use.
Oh, look at that. And this is special, and do you want it?